In this video, I want to explain to you all the rules for recording your speeches for the course. And before I get into those rules, I want to explain the logic behind the 9-person audience requirement. So if you take this class face to face, there are usually 24 students in the room plus the instructor, which is 25 total. So you're going to have at least 24 audience members that you're speaking to. Sometimes courses will make with fewer than 25 people, 24. That's the maximum amount. But the fewest number of students that any public speaking class at CSN is going to have to actually make is 9 students. So that's where we get that audience requirement from. The reason that the audience members need to be no younger than 8th grade is that, well, ordinarily in a CSN class, in a public speaking class face to face, you're speaking to college students. However, we do have some high school students who take college courses at CSN. So that's where we get the 8th grade or above, is to sort of take that into consideration, the varying age groups that you might have in a face-to-face communication class at CSN. And we try to match it as best we can, even in this online course. Ultimately, what you should understand about this rule, this 9-person rule of people who are 8th grade or above, is that the college and the Department of Communication are doing everything that they can to make sure that even when you take this class in an online setting, that you're still getting the same experience out of it that you would in a face-to-face. It's just that we want to be able to allow for flexibility of scheduling for students. But the online class of public speaking shouldn't and cannot take away the public component, that audience component. And that's why it's a requirement that's set forth by the college, by my department, and I'm here to fulfill that obligation to the college, the department, and to you all. So there's no contesting this rule. You can't get out of it. There's no exceptions, nothing. All right, so you have to have an audience of at least 9 people. And if that's difficult for you to figure out 9 people that you can speak in front of, for every speech on Canvas, I do have a discussion board where students can post, hey, I'm looking for audience members, and you'd probably be able to get together a group of people who are all willing to sit for an afternoon and listen to each other speak. So here it says, if you don't have at least 9 people in the audience from start to finish of your speech who appear to be in 8th grade or above, then you will fail the speech. And I'm going to come back to that in a moment because there's a way for me to ensure that I'm going to see all those 9 people. Okay, so now that I've explained the logic behind the 9-person audience member rule, now I'm going to get into the specifics and the rules of how you're going to actually go about recording your speeches. I have listed these rules in the syllabus. They are on this page where you located the video in the Canvas module, and I also post them at the bottom of each speech prompt. So you can hopefully tell by the amount of times that you're going to encounter these rules as some level of how important it is that you follow these rules. And if they seem like they're overly specific or it's a lot to remember, then I do apologize for that, but that is sort of the nature of this course, is that you need to follow these rules very, very carefully. The first thing that you're going to do when you start the recording is the camera will be facing you. You're going to say your name first and last into the camera. And the reason for that is so that I can know exactly whose speech I'm dealing with and that I'm scoring the proper person's speech. Because I don't have the pleasure of meeting you all face to face, this is the only way that I'll know your name. Okay, so state your first and last name first into the camera. Then from there, this is where you're going to turn the camera onto your audience. And this is the point where I will see at the beginning of the speech that you have 9 audience members who appear to be in the 8th grade or above. Now, what's important is that you take your time with this panning of the audience so that it's very clear to me that there are 9 people and that there should be no ambiguity there. Occasionally, students will whiz through this and the audience members will just be a blur. I can't count them all. You don't want to do that, okay? If I can't count each of your audience members clearly, 9 people, then I'll consider that non-compliance with the rule and you'll get a 0 on the speech. So there's no rush. Take your time. It's okay if your completed video is longer than the maximum time length of the speech. I won't count your audience panning before and after the speech as part of your speech time. That'll be a sort of a separate thing. So you can take your time. So once you've shown those 9 audience members clearly and slowly, you are going to turn the camera back onto you so that I can see your face and your body, and you should be recording the speech from the audience viewpoint. So what I'm seeing, it should be like I'm sitting in the audience with your 9 people and I'm seeing exactly what they're seeing. I've had a student record their speech up from the back of their head so that it was like I was seeing the audience members, which is interesting because I get to see the audience's responses, but if you think about it logically, I'm not grading the audience members and their responses. I'm grading you, the speaker. So I need to be able to see you, the speaker. I need to be able to see your eyes so that I can give you a score for eye contact. I need to be able to see the entirety of your body so that I can give you a score for how your hand gestures look or what your posture is like. So make sure that when you're recording it, I can see your face, your upper body, and potentially even your lower body would be nice too, especially if you are going to be moving around when you speak. If you're just going to stand in one place, then the upper body is fine. You should stand during the entirety of your speech unless there is some reason why you're unable to stand. And if that's the case, then you and I need to communicate about that via email ahead of time. But if I haven't heard anything from you, then you will be standing for the entirety of your speech. Finally, you should record your speech so that I can hear you clearly for the entire speech. Now, I talk about volume in our lecture on delivery, and volume is important for any speaker. But in this class, we have an additional challenge, this technology challenge, if you will, where sometimes the sound quality can be degraded by the recording and then the uploading of the video. So it's important that I can still hear you loud and clear, even if it's technologically mediated. So a really great way to figure out that everything is looking good and sounding good with your video is to do a 30-second sample video before you actually give your speech. And you could do this ahead of time before your audience is there, but figure out where you're going to put your camera. And what I would do is practice about 30 seconds of your speech, stop it, figure out how to upload it to YouTube, and then you can have about a 30-second clip of how you look and you sound. If everything looks good, then you're in a great place to go right ahead. But if you're watching that 30-second clip and you're thinking, I can't hear myself at all, or not very loudly, or oh wow, I can't see my eyes because there's weird shadows or this or that, then you need to make those adjustments. Because for better or for worse, I am grading what you hand into me as a recording. So you're responsible for that recording being at a level that I can hear and I can see. Next thing to consider is your camera operator, and it's important for that person to realize that they don't need to do anything fancy. You don't even need a camera operator, really. You can just set your camera in one place and make sure that wherever it's set is able to view you, your upper body, potentially your entire body, and that it's a clear shot, no shadows, and that you're able to be heard clearly, and it can just stay in that spot for the entire speech. Another important thing is try your very hardest to make sure that there aren't distractions in the speech. And this could be a sort of noise distraction that makes it hard for me to hear you. For example, if students decide they want to shoot a video outside and there is a very loud and constant traffic noise of cars passing by, or a horn beeping, or an alarm going off, or if you're shooting inside and there are dogs running around, or babies crying, or a microwave going off, do everything that you can to make sure that there are very few distractions. Because again, going back to the grading of the speech, anything that takes away from me being able to grade you or hear you or see you, that's going to affect your score. This brings me to your audience interaction and your audience as a potential interference or distraction. So I want you to be able to interact with your audience to the point that it makes sense. For example, if you're telling a joke and they want to laugh, then that's a good thing. Or if you're asking a question and you actually want the audience to respond, then that makes sense. But what I don't want is for the audience, particular audience members, to be interrupting or offering their take. For the most part, the audience should be quiet and they should be listening to you give your speech, because in a formal speech setting, that's how it works. The audience doesn't interrupt the speaker, they sit and listen to what they have to say, and that's that. Now, sometimes in formal speaking settings, there will be a question and answer after the speech. And if you'd like to do that for your speech, then that's great. You don't need to record it, and I won't be scoring it. But otherwise, the audience should stay relatively quiet, because again, I am grading you, not the audience. So after you're done giving the speech, you once again are going to take the camera and show me each of your 9 audience members once more, and you're going to do it slowly so that I can count them, and that's for me to ensure that you started with 9 people and you ended with 9 people. And again, the same rules apply for the end of the speech as with the beginning. If you do it too fast, if there's no longer 9 audience members, if something's changed or something weird is happening, then I will consider that non-compliance and you'll get a 0 on the speech. And of course, before you do the audience count again, you can let the audience applause and have your moment. But then once that's over, go on and move to scanning the audience once more. After you've scanned the audience, there's one more thing that you need to do. And that is you're going to show me a steady shot of each of your note cards that you're using to aid you in your speech. You will, for each speech, get a certain number of note cards to help you. And these note cards, they should be keywords only. That's important for your delivery, that you don't just have your outline right in front of you and you're just reading off of it. So I score your note cards, and I score them to see that they are keyword only and that you're not just shrinking down your outline. So it's important after you finished your speech and you show me all of your audience members once more, the last thing that you're going to do is scan in on the front and back side of each of your note cards, get a steady, clear shot so that I can see actually how many words are on each note card, and so I can give you that score for that. Last thing, it's really important that you don't try to edit the video at all. It should be a raw video with no cuts or edits or changes or anything like that. As I said, it's okay if it's longer than the speech time limit in order for you to do all the things that I'm asking you to do outside of the actual speech. So you shouldn't need to edit, and if you do, then that's considered cheating and you're going to fail the speech. So don't do anything fancy or tricky there. Just leave it as is. In another video, I'm going to show you how you upload your speech to YouTube. so that I can see it and that I can view it and grade it. But for now, this is just a list of the speech rules. And remember, it's important that you say your name, first and last name, first thing that you do. Second, scan the room slowly, showing me each of your audience members. Third, you're going to give your speech with a steady, clear shot of you and your upper body, potentially your lower body, and that we can definitely hear you clearly. You're going to end your speech and you're going to show me your 9 audience members slowly once more. You're going to show me your note cards clearly and up close so I can get a sense of how many words are on each of the note cards front and back. And then after that, you're all done and you're going to upload it to YouTube. Okay, so I hope this is useful and I will see you in the next video.